Opinions. As a Brawlhalla player, having one of these is probably the worst crime you can ever commit. Just imagine the most terrible and heinous crimes that people have committed throughout human history that I won't mention here because I want this video to be monetized. All of that boils down to nothing when compared to having an opinion on Brawlhalla. It truly seems that no matter what you say, someone will completely disagree with you and hate you for it. I mean, you could literally state a factual statement like, sword is a weapon in Brawlhalla. And someone's gonna be like, no it's not, you idiot! It's not a weapon in Brawlhalla, you stupid moron! Obviously I'm exaggerating, but it does feel like that sometimes, especially on Brawlhalla Twitter. Despite this, there will always be a few opinions that basically everyone can agree upon. For example, Sandstorm is the best 1v1s player of all time. 2020 Greatsword was the most broken weapon of all time. Koslik steals my video ideas. And so on. But just like how there's opinions that almost everyone agrees with, there's also opinions that basically no one agrees with. That brings me to today's topic, Brawlhalla website tier lists. For those that are unaware, if you Google Brawlhalla tier list 2023, you'll come across some real websites with real articles written by real people that give very accurate tier lists and why you should not or should be playing certain legends. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of these tier lists and the absolute atrocities that they hold. First up, we're going to be taking a look at GamingScan.com with the Brawlhalla tier list made by Samuel Stewart. Now, to my absolute disbelief, Samuel Stewart turns out to be GamingScan's editor-in-chief. Wow, I am blown away that the editor-in-chief of such a prestigious gaming website has a tier list about Brawlhalla. I'm sure it's probably the greatest thing I've ever seen. Especially since he describes himself as a dedicated gamer and he follows closely to the latest trends in the gaming industry. If you love brawling and winning in Brawlhalla, you need to bookmark this tier list for the best legends in Brawlhalla. Not all legends are equal. Very profound words by Samuel Stewart here. He's absolutely correct. Not all legends are equal. There are some that are way better than others, and I'm sure that we're about to hear the gospel truth from Samuel himself. Now, I do want to quickly mention that although it says this was made in September of 2022, the actual link itself says that it's updated to July of 2023, so don't worry, this is the most accurate and recent information you can get on the net. What is so unique about Brawlhalla, however, is its gameplay. While other similar games revolve around party management, Brawlhalla, by its nature as a fighting game, adds player skill and familiarity into the mix. Okay, so according to Samuel here, Brawlhalla is the only fighting game that factors in player skill and familiarity. And as we know, what Samuel says is gospel truth. So, all of you Smash Bros, Defenders, Guilty Gear lovers, Street Fighter fans, I don't care what you are, you all need to be quiet because Brawlhalla is the only one that factors in player skill. Okay, time to get into the actual tier list. That's enough rambling. Wait a sec, there's a note here at the bottom. Note, Munin has not yet been added to the list. The actual link itself says that it's updated to July of 2023, so don't worry, this is the most accurate and recent information you can get on the net. I'm sure Samuel just forgot to delete that when he was updating it for July of 2023. Nothing to worry about. We get a behind the scenes look on how he made the tier list? No way, I'm so honored. Now, Samuel says that he accounted for the legend usage and win rates, which, as we all know, are two very accurate and useful statistics to use while ranking legends. He also says that this tier list is geared towards ranked play rather than pro play, which makes sense because I doubt any pro players are going to be looking at this tier list. However, if the Sandstorm effect has taught us anything, casual players use what pro players use, so honestly, it'll be about the same either way. Okay. S tier. These legends dominate the playing field. What the hell did they do to Fate? Alright, the first legend in S tier, which are supposed to be the best legends in the entire game, is Jaeun. What? I'm sure that every Greatsword main watching this video is screaming at the top of their lungs out of anger because someone called a Greatsword legend good. But in all fairness, calling Jaeun S tier is pretty out there. But that's just one bad placement. I'm sure the next one's gonna be... Okay, come on! I'm about 99% sure that this guy lost to one 6-spamming Taros in gold and was like, Yep, this is the best legend in the game. No other way of explaining it. The weirdest part to me is that a couple of these placements are actually pretty good. Like, Koji in S tier? That's absolutely true. He's one of the best legends in the game, in my opinion. But right when you start thinking, hey, maybe this guy isn't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs after all, you see Magyar at S tier, and that's when you realize this guy's an absolute lunatic. It's either that, or he's never used the dodge button once in his life. In fact, he probably doesn't even know it exists. Now, as we move down the list, we get some more ludicrous placements. For example, Kaya in B tier, which is just factually incorrect, and Mirage in C tier, which, try telling that the Sandstorm. These strange placements continue all the way down until F tier, with only 2 legends here. Apparently, you only want to use them for fun or if you want a challenge. Those 2 legends being Jiro and Isaiah. I know all the canon maidens are absolutely rejoicing right now. In all seriousness though, I really need to know how he came to the conclusion that Jiro is F tier. Jiro. A Scythe legend. F tier. Those words should never be in the same sentence. Overall, this tier list has me thinking less about the placements and more about the drugs that Samuel was on while making this tier list, and also how to acquire some. But that was just one bad tier list. I'm sure the rest of them are just fine. Now, this next tier list is brought to you by PocketGamer.com, and it's written by Michal Katsaurus. Now, besides his name sounding like a species of dinosaur, you'll be happy to know that Michal here has been playing since the days of the Atari, which if you didn't know, was a really long time ago. Like the dinosaur ages. That explains his name. Thanks to the large amount of gaming wisdom that he's surely acquired over the many years he's played video games, I'm sure that this tier list will be many times better than the last one. And won't you look at that, I'm already being proven right thanks to this tier list being updated to July of 2023, rather than being like 2 years behind. Wow, okay, there's a lot of legends in S tier, so I'm just gonna start going down the list. So we got Thea, okay, interesting, but I guess I could see an argument for it. Red Raptor, okay, I guess this guy just really doesn't like boots. Ezio, that's also a strange one, but okay. Luke? Who's Luke? I don't remember there being a legend called Luke. Oh, you mean the crossover? Okay. I think Tyrannosaurus here got a little confused. See, he thinks that crossovers are completely separate from legends and are their own characters. Now, my question is, how did he come to that conclusion? Because on the right here, he shows what every legend has for their weapons, right? So, how did he see that some of these legends that are crossovers have the exact same weapons as other legends? Did he not put 2 and 2 together there? What's even more tragic is that for most of the crossovers he put in S tier, they don't have their base legend in the exact same tier. What? For example, Luke is in S tier, but then the base legend Cross is in A tier. Huh? The worst example of this though has to be Daimyo in S tier, and then the base legend Mordex in C tier, which by the way is the lowest tier in this tier list. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Mordex should not be in the lowest tier. In no universe should that be a thing. We're talking about Mordex here. Now, I'd love to know how he came to these conclusions, but unfortunately he only gives little descriptions for a couple of the legends at the bottom of the tier list. I'm not really sure why he picks the ones that he does to explain, but Mordex is not one of them. Luckily, at the top of each tier, he gives a little description for the tier itself, so let's see what he has to say about C tier. The legends in this tier are completely out of the meta and are rarely picked due to their stats. Rarely picked. Rarely picked. I cannot take this seriously. Oh, he actually did give a description as to why Lucian is in C tier. Let's see here. His agility is top tier, but he's not exceptional in 1v1 situations. Yes, you heard it first, guys. Katars is not exceptional in 1v1 situations. Instead, he will do better when performing combo attacks with his allies. Yes. And that's why he's currently at the bottom of our Brawlhalla tier list. That's why. That's the only reason why. Wow. That's wild. Once again, this entire tier list has left me in nothing but shock. My only advice to this guy is to actually play the game before making a tier list about it. However, not all hope is lost. We still have one more tier list to go, brought to us by Exputer.com, and written by Irfan Ansari. I hope I pronounced that right. After viewing Irfan's profile, I can already tell that this tier list will have no grammatical errors and will be in impeccable English. And before one of you tries to cancel me for that joke, just know that I wasn't actually being sarcastic. Like, listen to this introduction. In Brawlhalla, all legends play out more or less unique from each other. This element of distinctiveness is driven by a combination of weapon variety, variation in legends' characteristics, aka stats, and the overall playstyle they offer. It is the reason why certain legends in the game perform significantly better than a few ones. Plus, Irfan gives a description for every single legend that he ranks, so this is already 10 times better than the other two. Unfortunately, these descriptions in question are, interesting. Like, here's what I mean. For Mako, which, by the way, putting Mako at S tier is a little questionable, but he says, Mako can outsmart most opponents in the game. Okay. I didn't realize that different legends had different IQ levels. This must be a new feature that I didn't know about. I guess Irfan here has inside information with BMG. Also, looking at this entire S tier, it becomes very clear that this guy just copied whatever the other tier lists he could find had, because pretty much every legend that was in S tier for the first tier list is in the S tier for this tier list. Now, the reason for this becomes incredibly obvious when you realize that Irfan has never played Brawlhalla in his life. How do I know this? Well, Irfan somehow knows a ton of obscure lore details, such as the fact that Mako is a cross between a shark and a bear, which basically no one knows. However, he also believes that Cross has more strength than Scarlet, which is blatantly untrue, because Cross has 7 strength and Scarlet has 8. So here's my theory. I believe that Irfan wanted to create a Brawlhalla tier list, but had never actually played Brawlhalla before. So instead of, playing the game, he just went on the Brawlhalla wiki and thought he knew everything he had to know about Brawlhalla. And then, to make sure he didn't do random or odd placements on his tier list, he just copied other tier lists he found online and then put them onto his own. But in an ironic twist of fate, all the other online tier lists suck. So, not only does he look like an idiot for his terrible placements, but he's also a plagiarizer, because he just blatantly copied the wiki. That was supposed to be like a kind of satire part where I just made this crazy theory, but to be honest with you, that was perfectly feasible, and I would not be surprised if that was the truth. Now, I could go over every single terrible placement in this entire article, but that would take a long time. Or I could go over every single grammatical error in this entire article, but that would somehow take even longer. But I'll do neither of those and just put a picture of the tier list that it puts at the end of the article, and yeah, just one look at this thing should show you why this is the worst tier list ever made. I think these 3 articles perfectly encapsulate just how terrible these website tier lists are. The people that make these do not play the game whatsoever and are just looking for easy views. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's this. If you ever find yourself being made fun of for a bad Brawlhalla opinion, just be thankful that you're not an author of a Brawlhalla website tier list.